On the night of July 1, 2002, Bashkirian Airlines Flight 2937 from Moscow, Russia to Barcelona, Spain, collided with DHL Flight 611, a cargo plane which had taken off from Bergamo, Italy, and was bound for Brussels, Belgium. After taking off from Moscow Domodedovo Airport, the Bashkirian aircraft flew on a southwest heading until reaching Vienna, Austria, and then on a west heading along the northern edge of the Alps. The aircraft was flying at 36,000 feet according to the filed flight plan. Meanwhile, DHL Flight 611 had departed from Bergamo in northern Italy, flying north. It had reached its planned cruise altitude, also 36,000 feet, soon after entering Swiss airspace. The flight paths were set to intersect at the same altitude over Lake Constance, an area where the national boundaries of Austria, Germany, and Switzerland meet. For better air traffic management, the airspace boundaries in this region do not match national boundaries, and the control of air traffic over a part of German territory is delegated to the Swiss Air Traffic Services. The mid-air collision between these two airplanes occurred in the airspace controlled by the Zurich Area Control Center, which manages the overflying traffic and the traffic to and from a number of airports, including Friedrichshafen. The night shift included 2 air traffic controllers, but one of them usually left the control room in the late evening for a long rest period, since the airports in the area are closed during the night and the overflying traffic volume is low. As the Bashkirian Airlines and DHL airplane were approaching Lake Constance, an unexpected flight entered the airspace for a late arrival into Friedrichshafen Airport. Therefore, the single controller on duty had to manage 2 adjacent workstations, one for the overflying traffic and one for the approach sector. Both workstations were running in a degraded mode due to maintenance, and some safety features were unavailable. Moreover, the radio frequencies were separated, so the controller had to repeatedly move from the upper sector workstation, where he could talk to Bashkirian Airlines and DHL on one frequency, to the workstation for the approach sector to contact the arriving flight, call sign Aeroloid 1135, on a different frequency. At a time of 21:34 and 42 seconds, when the Bashkirian and DHL aircraft were at a distance of 10 nautical miles, the Traffic and Collision Avoidance Systems, or TCAS, on both aircraft detected a possible collision in the subsequent 48 seconds and issued cautionary visual and aural alert traffic in both flight decks. This information was not available to the air traffic controller. However, 7 seconds later, the controller realized that a collision was imminent and instructed the Bashkirian aircraft to descend. In that 7-second span, the distance between the two aircraft had decreased from 10 to 7 nautical miles, and the calculated collision was 35 seconds away. According to its logic, TCAS issued a coordinated resolution advisory, advising DHL to descend and for Bashkirian to climb. The DHL crew responded to the TCAS RA by immediately starting a descent. The crew of the Bashkirian aircraft instead disregarded the conflicting TCAS advisory to climb and followed the conflicting ATC instruction to descend, which had been repeated a second time as no readback had been given in the first instance. Satisfied that the Bashkirian aircraft was on a descent according to his instruction, and unaware that the DHL aircraft was also in a descent in response to the TCAS RA, the controller moved to the radar workstation covering the approach sector in order to follow the arrival of Aeroloid 1135. The Bashkirian Airlines and DHL aircraft collided 50 seconds after the first TCAS warning. Upon impact, both aircraft disintegrated and the debris was scattered over an area of about 350 square kilometers in the vicinity of the town of Überlingen, Germany, on the northwestern bank of Lake Constance. The controller, unaware of the collision, followed the arriving Aeroloid flight until the handover to Friedrichshafen Tower. He then moved to the workstation of the upper sector, trying to contact the Bashkirian aircraft 30 seconds after the collision. The flight crew response to the TCAS advisories was investigated in detail. While the crew of the DHL flight had to face only the TCAS traffic and resolution advisories, the Bashkirian crew had to resolve a conflict between the climb advisory from TCAS and the simultaneous instructions from the controller, who twice urged them to descend. By choosing to follow the ATC instructions, the Bashkirian crew negated the safety function of a coordinated TCAS resolution advisory and unknowingly put the aircraft on a converging descent profile towards the DHL aircraft. TCAS sensed that the collision was not being avoided, and at 22 seconds before impact, it advised the DHL crew to increase descent, and soon after advised the Bashkirian crew to increase climb. In this encounter, no reversal of the RA was commanded, as one or more conditions set in the TCAS logic for such reversals were not met. The two aircraft continued their descent until collision, at an approximate altitude of 34,900 feet. The aircraft collided at an angle of about 90 degrees with the Bashkirian aircraft slightly higher and with a right bank.